Making the smooth move up to high school, that's the topic for this edition of the Inside Scoop. Hello and welcome back to this edition of the Inside Scoop. I'm David Owen. If you have an 8th grader who's getting ready to level up to high school next fall, you likely are a bit nervous about the next academic step in their life. Here to help calm those nerves and offer some insights is the principal of South Cobb High School, Mr. T.J. Perry. T.J., welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So for the benefit of those folks who don't know you, can you give us a little overview of who is T.J. Perry?
Okay, well, I am a CCSD grad. Mm-hmm. I am a product of all CCSD schools, and also all of my experience in education has been in Cobb County. I started as a student at Addison Elementary, then on to Daniel Middle School, which we called it JJ back then, graduated from Sprayberry. Then came back as a paraprofessional at Powers Ferry Elementary School, math teacher at Garrett Middle School, and then assistant principal at Pebblebrook High School and Dickerson Middle School, now principal at South Cobb High School. And I would say, I'm Cobb.
You sure are.
I'm Cobb. Besides Cobb, I'm also a father, coach, mentor, leader, and I just love to see students succeed. And I'm so glad to be at the South Cobb High School, at the best, the one, the only, the South Cobb High School.
You're not proud of South Cobb or anything, are you?
Just a tad.
Well, middle school, just a couple of weeks ago, we did a podcast on parents having a student move up from 5th grade to middle school. And that's not this one. This is moving up from middle school to high school. So can you give us an idea of how high school life is different? And what do you see, as the teachers like to say, compare and contrast?
Absolutely. For going to high school, the biggest thing, the biggest challenge, the biggest difference would be the freedom the students have. Not that they're not able to do things in middle school, but for instance, going to the bathrooms, going to the cafeteria, they're walking in a single file line, 2 tiles from the wall. All their classes are in pods possibly or close by in proximity. High school, you have your 6 minutes to get from one class to the next. Hope you get there before the bell. That's on you to figure out a path, just like we do at traffic. And then so the freedom of doing the things that they want to do. And also the other big part is extracurriculars. There's no middle school specific school sports and things of that nature. And so, they have the opportunity to participate in extracurricular activities through GHSA, for different sports for each school. And so that's something they can participate in. So they have to figure out that balance. But that's a major difference, too.
Okay. And I love how you're talking about, getting from one class to the other. I don't know how many times this happens, but invariably there's a class like across the campus you got to get to in 6 minutes.
Yes.
And being late's not an option, right?
Right.
You got to own that. So what would you say are the biggest factors for a student's success in high school? You've been at South Cobb for how many years?
This is my 4th year.
So you've seen one group of students then, right?
Yes.
Coming through.
Yes.
So what are the biggest factors for a student's success in high school?
One that's going to come naturally is the maturity. Mm-hmm. Of course, the maturity level is going to grow as they grow, and which is something I've seen over these 4 years with the students that I started off with. Other factors is just understanding that academics starts your first year, your first set of classes, that first semester of your freshman year, and that's something that, because it builds your GPA, and that's something that oftentimes it's a struggle, it's a transition, it's a challenge for middle schoolers because in their mindset, sometimes they're thinking that they have the whole school year. And you have a semester till December. So sometime if they're falling behind, possibly January after the holiday break, they come back and say, "Okay, let me get it into gear." You don't have that time.
Yeah, you're starting behind the 8 ball.
Correct.
At that point.
Correct, and it's something that can affect them. So middle school is going from 6th grade, 7th grade, 7th grade to 8th grade. You're focusing year to year. But high school, when you start as a freshman, you're focusing on graduation and to graduate in those 4 years.
Basically, when students come in from middle school and suddenly GPA is an even bigger thing because you're getting closer to that finish line, right?
Correct.
So GPA and awareness of where they stand grade-wise means that they need to be focusing on getting it right to begin with instead of, like you said, waiting until the next semester to try to get things back on track.
Right.
What can parents do to help prepare their student for that step into high school from middle school. Is there any key information that you can provide them to help their student make that transition and keep that focus where you say it needs to be?
Absolutely. I would say support and constant communication with the students' teachers and counselors. I myself am going through the transition. I have a freshman right now, and also have a middle schooler. But the freshman, sometimes you just know your child. So I can speak on my child because he's mine. I know that if I rely on him to bring me information or to tell me what's going on in school, it's not going to be favorable. So I have to stay in contact with teachers, stay in contact with counselors and what's going on with the school, so that way that we are making sure that we know everything that we need to know, because it is a transition. It's definitely different, and we need to make sure. So I would say constantly communicating, being in the know, because it's very, very important. You don't want to miss anything, deadlines, due dates. When grades are out, they're posted. Questions about transcripts. You don't want to wait until your junior year and say, well, let me check out this transcript, and there may be a class that you may have needed and did not take. And so, we just need to make sure to stay on top of that as parents.
So staying in touch with not just the teachers, but from a transcript standpoint,
Correct.
Maybe the counselors as well, because isn't there generally a meeting of counselors with students at the beginning of their whole high school career to kind of set the trajectory?
Yes, we definitely do. And they also can meet at any time they want to ask to meet as well. We have junior advisement when they make sure that they're on track, because again, that's when it gets down to crunch time of graduation.
Yeah, and waiting till that last second is never a good way to go, right?
No.
So do students need to guard themselves in any way in terms of attitudes and behaviors?
Absolutely. One thing I would say is, and I'll encourage my parents as well, is to, when you become a high schooler, is to be involved in as much as you can and as much as you can handle. Being a part of a club, we have over 30 plus clubs at South Cobb specifically, and every high school has
30.
several. Yes. There's something for everybody, right? There's something for everybody.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to play an instrument to be a part of something. You don't have to play a sport to be a part of something. There's something for everybody. And it's good to come in with a group or with the people who have similar interests. And then those are people you start off with as far as bonding with, and then it grows from there. So I think that's a big piece of just building that social aspect of being a part of something.
I don't know if this is still a thing. Is there still a thing about walking in to the lunchroom with your tray and trying to find the table that you're welcome to?
That can happen.
I mean, seriously.
It's not a huge thing that I see specifically. Our kids they're constantly talking to everybody, trying to, meet new people. But there's cliques. There's cliques at every school. Yeah. And, so
human nature.
It just is correct. And so, but, that thing, people, they'll find their spots. But, that's a big piece of when you're a part of something, or finding out about what else is going on and who you can, be around. That's big. I say that's a big part that would help, with the success of students socially being in high school.
Yeah, and finding those other students who can encourage each other, right, and their academic success or social success,
Correct.
I guess.
Absolutely.
So that kind of leads us into how can students be a part of establishing a positive culture in the high school? I know that sounds kind of philosophical, esoteric, or whatever, but everybody who comes into your building brings with them a perspective or an attitude. Is there anything that you could advise in terms of parents encouraging their students to have a certain perspective to help develop that positive culture in the school? Absolutely.
The culture is driven by the students. And so, big thing is school spirit, school pride.
Okay.
To be proud of where you go to school. And one thing I could say for parents, as a parent myself as well, something small as simple as spirit wear. We can look at it as, well, it costs this, but from the perspective of the child, it's them showing their school spirit, and it's also giving that sense of pride of, I'm proud to walk around with my, at South Cobb, my South Cobb gear, so that, along with school spirit and just being proud of where you are and the school that you're at, that is big with students, as far as building that positive culture.
Yeah. Now, as a parent, and I've told the listener several times, I got lots of kids. I got 7 kids. As a parent, when a kid comes to me and says, "Hey, I want this hoodie for school," And, they're thinking logo, I'm going to be like my peers. It's all going to be great. And I'm looking at the price tag. These things have gone up to, in some cases, I've seen them for like $40 or $50.
Easy.
But to the kid, that's a huge thing, right?
Yes.
The fitting in.
Yes. It definitely is. It gives them something. They just like receiving things that have to do with the school. T-shirts are big. These bands that have these wristbands, different things of that nature. Like, they just love getting things that replicate what they're doing at their school, And
it's a way for them to feel like they're part of the group.
Correct,
too, right?
Correct. It's that sense of belonging as well, and knowing that they're part of something good.
So you said that you have been at South Cobb High School since 2019, and during that time, you've seen a lot of students come through, right?
Yes.
Tell us about some of the stories, or if you can, about students who came in that freshman year one way, and you saw them change. What kind of change did you see in your students?
Wow, that's interesting you brought that up. There is, and again, as I said, I started off the students who were graduating. Those were my freshmen when I first started off there. So I was, in a sense, a freshman too, there at the time as a high school administrator.
That's your class.
That's right. So I hold them tight. But just a couple of days ago, I spoke with 2 students that I just told them, I said, man, I'm proud of y'all. I said, y'all have been really doing your thing. Grades were looking good. And I was like, y'all ready for walk across the stage in a few weeks? And they were just smiling from ear to ear, just so happy.
Yeah.
Now, these same 2 individuals, these 2 young men, they had a difficult time their first year, and then even the last few years, behavior-wise, got into some big things, and even academics, their grades weren't there. But they realized, and switch just clicked, and realized, I got to make a difference. I spoke to them last year as well, and just seeing that change and that growth, it just gets me so excited. Like, that's the ultimate goal, is to know that they're going to be graduating.
Yeah.
And there's several stories just like that of students, that I know of as well. And so that's just going to be an exciting moment when we have graduation, to see every one of the success stories walk across that stage as I shake their hand. It's just going to fill me with pride.
That has to be a really gratifying moment for you to see. Now I'm okay. I've got a question for you. I've got a theory. 10th grade is a pivotal year. Is that accurate?
It is.
Do you see a lot of attitudes change in 10th grade?
Yes, I do. And I'll tell you why. It's because the freshman year, they're trying to figure out, it's like that duckling just trying to walk and figure out what's going on in life. So their freshman year, it's a lot of just gazing and, wow, everything is so big. The campus is big. There's so many classes. There's so many people.
They're still babies.
Correct. You go from a middle school, you may have 900, 1,100 students to we have over 2,000 students, all over the place. And so, it's everything is different. So the freshman year, when it gets to second semester, they get their bearings under their feet, but then coming in sophomore year is when they realize, okay, this is it. I get it. I'm no longer a freshman. I know what to expect. I know what the policies, procedures are. I know the routines. I'm kind of good. So you'll see a lot of change during that sophomore year, and that's for behavior as well as social as well as academics too. Because they realize, okay, I can't play around, because they weren't playing when they said, you don't get credit. If you don't pass your course, you will not get credit and you will not be promoted. And so they understand that and see that and say, okay, I got to make sure I'm on point.
So this also brings up a point. I'll ask you for clarification on this. Should parents maybe help steer their student toward hunting down resources during that freshman year? Because you were just talking about, they come in and they start to figure out where things are and how things work and so forth. Should that be a part of their deliberate effort? Is, you need to pay attention to this. You need to learn where the counselor is. Here's what the counselor does in a high school setting. Go to the counselor if you need this X, Y, Z, and so forth. Is that maybe a good approach?
100%. That's what I was saying. The support.
Yeah.
That support of guidance, of guiding them, of just that communication, not just with the parent and the school, but with the parent and the student, and talking to the student, and talking to him as a young adult and talking to her as a young adult, and saying, hey, have you been communicating with your counselor? Do you know where the counselor office is?
Yeah.
Do you know where your administrator office is? Do you know who your administrator is? What's going on in your classes? Having those conversations and making sure that you're guiding them in the right direction. Yeah,
it sounds to me like that may be the biggest takeaway from this whole thing. Would you agree?
Yes.
For parents in guiding their freshmen in the fall, that would be a huge part of success.
It is. And again, like I said earlier on, you know your child. And so you know which one, if you have multiple children, you know which ones you may need to motivate more than the other. And so, but the thing is regardless, that 4-year time frame is going to happen quick. And so realizing right now, I'm like, okay, we got to start this driving testing here, you know, with my own personal one, and going into, you know, ACT, SAT testing. And so realizing this is coming quick. Yeah. It's coming quick. So I'm just constantly talking with the students and constantly talking with the school.
So parents set that trajectory early on for a good launch for that student once they, when they come in on the freshman year, keep the senior year in mind.
Yes.
Making sure. Okay.
That is the ultimate goal, graduation.
That is really good. Well, TJ, thank you so much for coming in.
Absolutely.
And sharing your knowledge. And parents, see, it's not a big deal. You can stay calm, stay relaxed, and know that folks like Mr. Perry, Principal Perry, are totally in the corner of you and your student, and they want to do everything they can to help them walk across the stage, reach their best level of success, and so forth. So also, you aren't the only one who is experiencing this. Your child probably has friends, and those friends have parents who also need to hear these words of wisdom from Principal Perry. So if you would be so kind as to reach out, pass along this podcast, let them know. I think they'll probably be grateful to you for the information and helping to calm their nerves as well. Well, thank you for listening to this edition of The Inside Scoop, a podcast produced by the Cobb County School District.